Hello there. Welcome back to Thriving Generation with Dr. G. I am super excited today about the conversation we are going to have. It is about our finances, financial health. This is so important. We all, if we'll be sincere a little bit, we want money and we want more of it. So I have a special guest with me today. I'm not going to stretch it. Let's go straight into the conversation. Wunmi, could you please introduce yourself to us?
Hi, my name is Wunmi Akinola. Full name Wunmi Akinola. I am from Nigeria originally. I currently live in the Western Hemisphere, so I live within the United States. Um, I currently work as an IT finance specialist, but I've had a career over a lot of fields. I started out as a biochemist, molecular researcher, went into real estate. Now I am in business for an agricultural company. So I kind of have experience in a lot of fields.
Beautiful, beautiful. I am one of your fans. You know that already. So when we first met, we were in a friend's house, right? And then the friend said, "Oh, a friend of mine is going to bring a game for us to play." So we're like, "Okay, let's just have fun." Wumi came, and then the game she brought was, is it Cash Flow? Is the name
Yes,
Cash Flow?
cash flow.
And she got us thinking. We had no option but to think of taxes, to think of savings, to think of, it was just so much. And after that, I've seen more of you, and I know that you are very wise when it comes to money. So just give us a little bit about that background. How did you learn about money? How did you even get to this point where you are so wise about money? You know how to spend money, you know how to save money, you know how to get money. I like that part. Tell us more.
I've had a lot of fortunate encounters with very financially wise people. The cash flow story, interestingly enough, came from my church. A lot of people are familiar with Robert Kiyosaki, his books Rich Dad Poor Dad and the
Mhm.
Fast Money Quadrant. My pastor in university, when I was in my third year,
Mhm.
bought cash flow, and he invited anyone to come over to his church or to his house to play it. And I found out that there were only about 5 of us that went to play it. And he kept on having uh, seminars about investing or having good finances, just things of that nature, making sure that you are set up well. And his idea was that if you are blessed yourself, you are able to become a blessing to others. So the
Hmm.
money is not for you. The money is for you, and then your family, and then your village, and then your neighborhood. Then you keep on going. So you are able to not just be receiving, but you're now able to give.
I like that. The money is not just for you, it's for you and all the people around you. I think if we think that way, we are going to be more motivated to do stuff. Because
Yes.
right now I'm comfortable. I have a house, I have a car. Okay, I'm okay. Or I can pay my rent, I can do this. But if you begin to think beyond you and what money can be used for, you may end up doing more with your life. So, how old were you at that time?
I was 21 then.
Okay. So what happened after that? What did you use that information for?
Well, the first thing, and I keep on making fun of you, my sisters have told me not to share this story, but I have to. The first thing I did was I took some of my pocket money so that was in middle of 300 level, a third year. And so once I got into the fourth year, I decided that I wanted to start what I call passive investing, which is investment that you don't have a job, you're not working for it. You just put money down and the money grows for you. And the best idea I had then was the stock exchange. So I saved some of my pocket money and I bought shares. Now, the key was I told my parents. I told my parents I bought shares, which they were very okay with. But then the problem was they didn't understand that shares are a long-term investment. You keep it there and you forget about them for 20 years. So when the rents came around and my parents were a little short, they're like, you have shares and your shares just doubled in value. So why don't you sell those shares? So I sold those shares, and they did indeed double in value within. Then I was just fortunate when I got in the stock I I bought had doubled in, so they did a split. So they doubled in value. So I got, you know, but it's rare that you have it that way. In developing countries, though, that happens. In Nigeria, it's common to see your investments grow faster because it's more risky. In places that are more stable, your investments don't grow so fast. And then after that, I got into grad school. There wasn't very much investment there, but there was a lot of saving. So my husband and I got into the idea of living below our means, which means that you always have a little bit extra at the end of the month to save. And we were 100% no debt. So once we graduated from school, we were using in school we were having stipends, which is just enough to survive on, not much extra. We got jobs, and then we decided that we would live on one person's salary, which was still more than what we've gotten used to in school, and then would save the second person's salary. And that was how we were able to save for down payments for our first house, an investment property, and things like that. And having that kind of discipline had pretty much allowed us to practice what I had learned in school.
You are amazing. I must say, when I first heard about you living on one income, like, wow, so they are saving all that. And it's been great. And I know that you are into other kinds of investments here and there. So help us out, those of us who were not fortunate enough to have that lesson from the beginning, but now we want to do something. Where do we start from? And what are some of the opportunities that we can get into even without so much income?
Well, the first thing, and let me divide that. Who is it? Would that be people within like Africa, or is that within United States, or both? Because sometimes the strategies are a little different.
Let's touch on Africa first, and
Okay.
then we will bring it into the United States.
So within Africa, I would say the first thing you need to know is how much are you making and how much are you spending? Because a lot of times the salary is very volatile. So you have to have a very good idea of how much you're making. I would say if you have a salary, you know how much you're making. But if, for example, you have a shop, you have a business, you take your last 3 months' salary and you average that, and that is how much you can save for every month. This is how much is coming. And then you plan on that amount. So the idea is that I would say, if you're a beginner, try and save 5 to 10% of your salary. But if you know you have the gene, you're good with saving, your aim should be 20%. So 80% of your money should go to your housing, the school fees, everything that you're doing. But as much as possible, you start saving. Now, before we start talking into investments, though, I have to say that you have to have what we call an emergency fund. Now, the reason for the emergency fund is that your aim is not to borrow, because sometimes when you start borrowing, it cuts your ability to do investments. If you're borrowing, your borrowing should only be for your investment. It should never be for your personal needs. So I always say have about 2 to 3 months of your salary in emergency fund, because you can go on the road, you hit a pothole, you're tired. You want to know that you have the money quick. You can just fix it and do that. Maybe your child, like in Nigeria, malaria, everybody gets malaria sometimes. Stay in hospital for 2 days because they had malaria. You need that, and we always need that cash on hand. After you have your emergency fund and then you've done your budget, then we can start looking at investment. My favorite investment for West Africa is stocks.
Okay.
I love stocks because the idea is that it's a long term. You don't do it now. You do it now, and then it's like what you're going to use to retire. You buy, you just close eyes, you spend, a couple of Naira CDs, buy buy like 100 stocks here, 100 shares there. Forget about it for the next 10 years. Just keep it. If the stock goes down, you're like, oh my God, it's up. Don't bother about it. Just leave it. It will come back up again. And over time, it will go up. So just wait 10 years, 15 years. When you have gray hair, that's when it's
gray hair. Wow. So many years.
No, but that's the discipline. Because the discipline, so I'll use an example of my hair. My hair is natural. And I don't know if you can see it. It's
I
this
can
one.
see that. Yeah.
I have a lot of people ask me, oh, how did your hair get this long? Oh, what are you doing? So it's so easy. But when I tell them that for the last 5 years, I've been doing this to it, I've been doing that to it, I've been doing this, suddenly people are like, I don't want to spend the effort, you know,
Mm.
condition, doing deep condition and all these things for every week for 5 years. But
Mm.
they enjoy the results of the hair.
Yeah.
They don't. So this is the same thing with investments. All these work is things that you do every week, every day for 20 years. And then suddenly you wake up one morning and somebody will be asking, oh, how did you have, all these properties and all these things? It's because you've been doing it every day.
Yeah.
So now so after you have the investments,
Mhm.
after you have the shares, that's easy because the reason why I like shares is because you don't necessarily need a lot of money. To start. And especially if you're a busy person and you have, work on, you can't really put extra time. Shares are easy. You don't need to put any extra effort into it. You just buy it and you leave it.
Okay.
Now, the next level is what I call start having businesses.
Okay.
And there's so many ideas about businesses. And I'll tell you some that my mother did. I've never done them, but I've watched my mother do them. And they're really great businesses to start. One is having grind. I don't know if you have this in Ghana, but in Nigeria we have it's called grinding machine, where you go to the market, you want to buy pepper, and
Mhm.
they grind
Mhm.
it for you.
Mhm. We call it
People,
mechanica. It's the
people,
same grinding machine. Yeah.
people don't know that you can buy two or three, and then you sell it to a market woman who doesn't have the full money for it, and should just be giving you some money every month
Oh, okay.
over maybe a year. So then when I was in school, it was, and don't be scared about Naira. Naira numbers are crazy. But I remember when I was in school, I think the machine was 5,000 Naira. And then the person will pay you over a year 15,000 Naira.
Okay.
Now, if you are disciplined, you can keep that 15,000. Next year, you buy another three grinding machines. And that's a small business. You're not doing it. It's somebody else that's doing it for you. Another one my mom did was Okada business, motorcycle travel.
Yeah.
It's a little bit, that one is a bit more expensive to buy, motorcycle, but it's the same idea. You buy a motorcycle, there's somebody in the market that, transports people back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Then the motorcycle was about 80,000, but over 2 years, you get 160,000 because they'll pay her maybe 5 or 10,000 every week from their earnings on with their transport. So
Okay.
I've seen people do that with Uber. They've done
Yes.
it. They've
Yeah.
done it. Any kind of transport really you can do. I've seen people that they'll build a borehole and they have somebody sit there and sell water.
Okay.
Um, what other ideas have I seen? But I don't think this one will be so big anymore. But there is, internet cafe, photocopying business. There used to be some guys that would do they love football. So they'll buy a very big football, a
Mm.
very big television, and they'll just open a small shop somewhere during football season, and they'll be selling Coke, selling drinks, and you come and watch. You pay, small money, maybe 5 Naira to come and watch, and that's a business. You are going to watch the football anyway. Now it's getting people to pay 5 Naira to buy to watch TV with you.
Yeah.
Um, there are just so many there are so many smaller business ideas. There's so many bigger business ideas.
Yeah.
That's one you could do. Then, or you can invest in somebody's shop. Somebody else may want to
Mm.
open a shop and you say, I'll pay some of it and you give me some returns back. Then finally, this one is the most expensive, is owning
Okay.
property. I love, love, love the idea of owning
Yeah. I know.
this was something that happened in Nigeria in the 1980s. We went through a Great Depression, which was our economy went horribly, went down completely to the point people are losing their jobs. The currency became rubbish. Everything happened in the 80s. But I noticed that there are only three people who survived. People who had their own business.
Mm-hmm.
So the money was rotating. So as the inflation was growing, the things they were selling was growing with it, so their money kept. People who invested in the stock market, because that also keeps track of in inflation. And three, people who had property.
Okay.
Those were the only three people I knew who survived. Anybody who had a salary suffered because your
Mhm.
salary went from the value, just remove a zero. Imagine removing 1 0 from your salary. That
Yeah.
was what happened to everybody. So it didn't work. There were so many things that did not survive. So that's an idea. So those are the three main things that I would say would be good ideas to start on the side if you have a job or you don't have a job. Just have that by the side.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And that is in Africa, right?
Mhm.
So now let's move into the United States or abroad if you have ideas to share with us.